You're entering Corsi Nation.
This is Jerome Corsi, and today it is Thursday. It's September 25th, 2025. And thanks for joining us on CorsiNation.com. You can follow me on X at Corsi Jerome #1, at Corsi Jerome 1. And Substack is JeromeCorsiPhD.substack.com. That's all together. No dashes or periods or commas. Jerome Corsi PhD all together at JeromeCorsiPhD.substack.com. Okay, first story I want to cover has to do with Trump and Russia. Now, there's a great deal of discussion because Trump at the United Nations seemed to do a complete 180 and saying that Ukraine, with the support of the European Union, is in a position to fight and win all of Ukraine back in its original form. Now, Trump had been saying that these territories had been lost. They weren't going to be able to be recovered without a nuclear war. And so why now is he saying that, if we support Ukraine, it can win these territories back? Well, that looks like Trump has suddenly been brainwashed by General Kellogg, and he has now gone to become a war hawk, and he wants to go to war with Russia. Well, that's not the case. The key, what Trump was saying to the United Nations, was that if the Europeans want to fight this war, let them go ahead and fight it. He's saying basically the United States is not going to support Ukraine directly with more money or more arms. We'll continue to support NATO. And if NATO wants to support Ukraine, so be it. Now, why is Trump taking this position? I think what Trump is very frustrated with Putin, and it's obvious he's frustrated with Putin because what Trump wanted was for Putin to just do a ceasefire. Just stop, and that would stop the shooting, and it would make it clear that the aggressor was Ukraine, and you could get a peace deal on that basis. But Russia has really achieved a tactical advantage in this war, and Russia could, I think, take Kiev, could take the whole country now if it wants to, and I don't think there's anything that's going to stop Russia. I mean, Ukraine is down to putting the old people, the infirm, the mentally ill, anybody they can find into the army and let them be killed by Russia. And Ukraine is not winning back territory. It's losing more territory. And Russia's capable of taking all of Ukraine if they want to. Who's going to stop them? You'll have to have a nuclear war, as I've said before, to stop this from happening. The United States is not committing troops. We're not allowing the weapons to be used, to be fired, these attack missiles to be fired deep into Russia. And what Trump knows is what I know, and that is that Europe is on the ropes. The truth is, Europe is so, in terms of its economy, is so tremendously now at a disadvantage that there's no possible way Europe is going to be able to do anything except to, get by without. They're inevitably, I think, going to have a major economic downturn in the fall. I've been predicting Europe's going to crash. I'm going to cover that here in a second. But Trump was talking even with Macron in France, and he was talking Macron up. Macron's on the ropes. Macron in Paris, he's got riots in the streets. Paris is burning again from all the Muslims. Trump is attacking. If you look at Trump's speech at the United Nations, Trump was saying, he spent a lot of time telling the United Nations how they were, on this climate scare, which is complete nonsense. I wrote a book. I've written 2 books that are extremely important, and Chris can put up the covers. Chris is showing you the articles here with Trump talking with Macron, in which he was praising Europe and praising Macron. Macron's helped him settle 7 wars, et cetera, et cetera. Well, Trump is out of the deal. And Trump's saying basically if Putin won't play with Trump to come to a conclusion to the war, then let Putin deal with Europe and the crazy Europeans and see if that helps anything. Okay, and so basically Europe is incapable. The idea that Macron and France are going to put an army in Ukraine to fight Russia is laughable. It's nonsense. I mean, Macron can't control the streets of Paris. Macron can't prevent massive protests. The Islam is now culturally destroying Europe. And Trump said accurately that this is open door policy in Europe has basically ruined Europe. And Europe's going to have now decades of Muslim domination. And the Muslims do not want to integrate. They want Sharia law. They want to have everybody become Islam. They are anti-women. You can't even talk about the rapes that go on in terms of these Muslim men and gangs. But here's the book, The Truth About Energy, Global Warming, and Climate Change, that book had extremely good reviews. And it made it clear that all this climate science scare is nothing but lies and damn lies perpetrated by the United Nations Commission on Climate Change. I mean, the United Nations has been pumping out this propaganda now for decades, and with the mainstream media understanding that the Democratic Party and the left worldwide has gone beyond communism into the neo-Marxism and cultural Maoism, which basically represents an attack on the culture of capitalism, destroying the family, the nuclear family, sexual dystopia. So sex changes for boys and girls who have not reached the age of puberty on the idea that they were born into the wrong body, or the furries who think that their gender is animal. I mean, it's schizophrenia. And anything postmodernism that you want to believe is true because you want to believe it. Well, what I showed in this book on the climate change, and Trump echoed it, was that the technology of wind and solar don't work, not on the scalable need to do a modern industrial state. And electric vehicles are being abandoned across the world. China's pumping them out, and maybe they work in some European cities where all you do is plug them in and motor around a tiny city. But to deal with distances like in the United States, to deal with interstate travel, they're not practical. We don't have the charging stations. Although Biden spent billions of dollars and we're going to get the charging stations, they never occurred. So that book, I think, was one of the first books that I have written on the truth about the age of disinformation. It's going to be a trilogy. The second book, Chris will show it, is The Truth About Neo-Marxism, Cultural Maoism, and Anarchy. The covers are very much the same. The third book, which I'm going to write, is going to be on transhumanism and perpetual life extension. Perpetual life extinction, I think, is where we're headed as a species. And anarchy. Well, we're headed into the anarchy stage. And Trump knows it. And Trump is saying basically to Russia, good luck. You want to fight this war? Good luck. You're going to go broke. Europe is really nearly bankrupt. Now, I want to cover this early in the show today because gold today is at $3,766 an ounce. Silver's at $45 an ounce. Okay, now silver is actually a very good buy right now because it's cheaper. You get some precious metal and it'll appreciate faster. It's going to go to $90 before gold is going to go to $4,000, which I think it will reach by the end of the year. It broke through $3,800 an ounce earlier this week. And gold's going to take longer to get to $8,000 than silver is going to take to get to $90 an ounce. And I'm imploring you, I'm begging you to go to Swiss America. Chris will show you the site and get this Walking Liberty $50 offer. We can fill out the form on CorsiNation.com. Just go to the top of the website and pull down the gold and silver tab, and you'll see Swiss America, and you'll find the gold, and Chris will show you how to navigate it. Get right into the gold and silver section of the website, and you fill out the form. You get 250 of these Walking Liberty $50 at virtually what they are worth in terms of the silver content, which is extremely high. And also, if you call Swiss America, you can get the free book I've written which is, the how the coming global crash will create an historic gold rush. Call 1-800-519-6268. Get a copy of that book, 1-800-519. I'm going to give it to you. Write it down. So please call them and talk to Swiss America. It's consultative selling. They're not going to push you into buying something that you don't need or aren't going to benefit from or can't afford. Number's 1-800-519-6268. 1-800-519-6268. If you like the show, support our sponsors, and Swiss America is the major one. Also, my Vital C, which is Carbon 60, and I wrote a book on that, which is again on Live Longer Better. This Carbon 60 is a remarkable product. Please try it and take a look at it. Okay, so the first thing I'm covering today is Trump at the United Nations, and Trump let the United Nations have it. He let them know that he was cutting their spending. We're cutting our contributions. That speech almost sounded to me like Trump was saying, United Nations, just shut up and go away. We don't need you anymore. All you've done is lie, create wars, support the Palestinian state, which never existed, and be anti-American. They shut off the escalator when Trump was trying to get up into the Security Council. They made it difficult for Trump to get into the United Nations. That's how what's happened to the left is it's now gone violent. It's now gone anti-American. The Democratic Party is an anti-American party. It hates America. It hates life. Abortion up till after the baby's born, you can still kill it. Barack Obama gave a speech in the legislature in Illinois when he was in the Illinois legislature before he ran for president, and said that after the baby was born, if the mother didn't want it, it could be killed. And that was abortion. No, it's infanticide. You're killing a live human being. But these people don't care. They have no value. They don't value God, so they have no value to human life. And there's predictions out by the United Nations, by the way, the population of China is going to be cut in half in 20 or 30 years. Because China, again, is at war with its own population. The Falun Gong which was a meditation. They call it a cult, but it's a meditation discipline that goes back to the Zen and Confucianism and the Tao and all the ancient Chinese meditation religions. And that China, of course, opposed that because it believes in God. And so China now puts the Falun Gong in concentration camps and harvests their organs, which is a very profitable business. And of course, I've pointed out that Obama and Biden did the same thing with Honduras, opening our border. And they did that in 2014 at the urging of the Catholic Church, Archbishop McCarran. We've done various programs on that featuring Mike McCormick's books, Almost Insurmountable Evil. We've written about these things and exposed these things deeply. Okay, so there's the truth about neo-Marxism, cultural Maoism, and anarchy. And I think you need to get into this deeply and understand that the Frankfurt School evolved communism by reading Marx into communism and saying that we're only going to be free if we have uninhibited libido, that we need to have uninhibited sex. So sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Marcuse became the star of the 1960s anti-war protest, and I covered that at great length. On Swiss America, on CorsiNation.com, we are featuring Mike McCormick's work on the home page. Take a look at it. It's important that we understand that this is Act Blue, which is another major scandal. And by the way, Pam Bondi had better start indicting people. There's a story out, and it continues to be a story, and I've been following this also very closely, that Comey is going to be indicted. Now, James Comey, the former FBI head, there's a 5-year statute of limitations about to expire next Tuesday, and former FBI Director James Comey is expected to be indicted by the Eastern District of Virginia for lying to Congress during his September 30th, 2020 testimony. This comes days after Trump knocked Attorney General Pam Bondi for inaction against the perpetrators of the Russian hoax. Justice must be served now, Trump wrote, citing unspecified statements and posts. I mean, I wrote a book on this, coup d'etat, on how Obama staged the Russian collusion hoax in order to unseat a duly elected president, Donald Trump. The dark evil here, the Democratic Party, is insidious. And, Jimmy Kimmel's now back on television, and I see again, and he did not apologize for saying that the lying that, the murderer of Charlie Kirk was a MAGA in radical. No, he was not. He was a transgender. He had all kinds of slogans carved into his bullets, which are anti-Trump and pro-LGBT, QXYZ. Okay? So here's the problem, is that the media lies. Kimmel comes back on. Kimmel spews a whole hour or 2 hours or 3 hours, however long. I've never seen the program. I couldn't bear to watch Jimmy Kimmel. He can have his right to speak. But when he starts signaling anti-ICE behavior, and it leads to shooting at an ICE facility in Texas with a shooter who again is leftist, anti-ICE, then you can see how the Democrats are forming a pattern of signaling, what the violence that occurs. And if the Democrats turn and the radical left turns violent, Trump is right. He's going to have to declare that the leftist groups like Antifa, Black Lives Matter, which are Maoist groups, they're cultural Maoist groups. Why is a Maoist distinct from a communist? Well, the communists basically were always talking about economics, in the inequality of economics for the minorities. But that's not the theme here. The theme of the cultural Maoists is the culture of capitalism. In other words, the religion. They want to present that as a myth, a lie. God doesn't exist. Okay, God died. That's what Nietzsche said. Okay, so they want to attack the family. Well, no, sex could be whatever you want it to. It's gender. What's your gender? Well, what these LGBT? What, you're going to discriminate against the LGBT? Pope Francis says no. We have to have a synodal movement. We got to get the bishops to have meetings with these prejudiced, or we're prejudiced if we don't accept the LGBT and give them room in the church. Poor Satan. We're letting him out in the cold. Make room for Satan in the Catholic Church. He's just an oppressed minority, misunderstood. No, he's evil. He's dark evil. Death, destruction, anti-God. And that's the cycle we're going through right now. And the point is that if you allow Kimmel to come on back on, sure, fine, let him speak. But do you have to give him a platform of this nature? I mean, we've been deplatformed. And okay, I always say, oh, well, YouTube is putting us back on. YouTube's not remonetizing me. It's all, word service. I saw an article today about Jim Jordan and how much money he's gotten from big tech and how he is not supporting these, antitrust moves to break up big tech. He's gotten thousands and thousands of dollars from big tech. Even the Heritage Foundation gets money from big tech. And big tech continues to repress, censor, demonetize anybody who doesn't agree with their leftist radical agenda. If you think the leftist radical agenda is going away, it's not. It's dominating our universities. And our universities need to be defunded in order to eliminate the propagation of this evil ideology. Okay, now I'm also seeing that Mamdami, who is running for mayor in New York, wants to spend $100 million in New York City tax dollars to increase services for illegal aliens. Now, doesn't Mamdami realize that's a crime? You know, if you get Homan out here and Mamdami's going to do this, Mamdami could be indicted. He could be arrested for doing this. According to his Mamdami's plan, he says 400,000 of our residents are right now in urgent need of assistance. Okay, he wants to make sure that you're getting assistance for legal assistance for all New Yorkers. Okay, so the city only knows that it provides legal assistance to those same New Yorkers. Their chances of going home increase 11-fold, and yet it only has assisted fewer than 200 of these New Yorkers. So they're trying to say, well, if we just assist them, they'll go home. No, if they assist them, they will stay. So it's a cornerstone of our campaign is a commitment to increase the funding for these very legal defense services by more than $100 million, so we can ensure we're taking every step we can to keep New Yorkers safe, keep New Yorkers together, and show the world that they are welcome in the city. So he's really on board with the sanctuary city. He's really on board with protecting and funding the illegal immigrants. And, if Mamdami is elected, New York is going to go to hell pretty fast because companies are going to pull out. People are going to pull out. It's already New York's most expensive city for rent in the world. And the prices in New York are just getting outrageous. But that's all right. New York can go bankrupt like all the other democratic cities and expect the federal government to bail it out. Look at California. California is doing the same thing. Okay, so as we look at these attacks on the ICE facilities and the left supporting of Venezuelan criminal gangs, of the MS-13 gangs. Oh, they have rights. We have to make sure they have rights. Well, they don't have rights. The criminal, illegal aliens here murdering and raping. But yet all these poor, we have to give sympathy for them. It's like the universities embracing the Palestinian movement. I mean, anti-Semitism is rampant on universities like Harvard, and Jews are persecuted, which is insane. I mean, this is, again, people forget the Holocaust. Oh, the Holocaust, it didn't happen. Oh, yes, it did. 6 million Jews were murdered by Hitler. Hitler was trying to eliminate Jews from the face of the earth. It didn't succeed, and it will never succeed. Biblically, God says, who supports Israel, God supports. And the idea that we're going to abandon Israel by the universities, well, the universities aren't going to get supported. The universities need to close. Let's tax the endowments. Let's suspend federal funding for any university that exhibits anti-Semitic behavior. Okay, the most bizarre thing is the gays for Palestinians. I mean, don't the LGBT realize that in the Muslim world they're going to be criminalized and maybe murdered because they're gay? So you have gays supporting Palestine, which is a movement that hates homosexuality and lesbianism, transgenderism. It's insanity. They're binding together with the Palestinian movement and universities, the LGBT, because the LGBT hate God, the universities hate God, and the Palestinians hate God, except for Allah. They want to kill Christians. Trump said yesterday to the United Nations that Christians are the most persecuted in the world, religion in the world right now. It's true. And this certainly looks like end days, because the predictions in end days are that Christians will be persecuted worldwide. And it's definitely happening. You think Mamdami is going to be, Trump is going to be favorable to Christians? No, he's a Muslim. He's a radical, leftist, communist, actually post-communist, violent, wanting to encourage everything that is evil, destructive, and criminal. The Democratic Party is supporting everything evil, destructive to America, Just give the Democrats a microphone and they'll go away. They'll self-destruct. Democrats don't have a message right now. And by the way, Trump is preparing a new executive order based on the work we have done at God's Five Stones. And I encourage you to look at God's Five Stones and again, support us. Get donations into God's Five Stones. We're going to be moving into more intensive coverage of Act Blue, much more intense coverage of the child sex exploitation. This is spiritual warfare that we're into, and we're going to expose it completely. We need to have a turnaround in this country back to God. And if we don't get there, the country is going to have a hard time, surviving. Now, Trump, I think, is doing an excellent job, and Trump is working to turn the bureaucracy around. But the Democrats won't even cooperate to keep the government open. So they're going to say, okay, let Trump close the government, and then they'll use that as a political motive to attack Trump. Well, if we can't get a continuing resolution and the government closes, I say good. I think the entire bureaucracy ought to be shipped, to the Mojave Desert or Death Valley. Give them all the Quonset huts and wind and solar they want. That's the only way you'll get them to quit. But the point is that the MAGA movement is what has gained in the United States and continues to grow because most Americans are understanding that what the Democratic Party, the communist, now radical, almost terrorist Democratic Party, and Trump is right in expanding the list of far left groups that are violent. Southern Poverty Law Center, which has constantly attacked me for 20 years, they are, again, the dog whistle authorizing the left to be violent, to eliminate anyone who opposes their agenda. And again, in that book, Truth About Neo-Marxism, Cultural Maoism, and Anarchy, I point out that Marcuse was the one who wrote a book called About the Intolerance that needs to be at the heart of the left, where they should not permit dangerous speech, which talks about God, which talks about the family, which talks about traditional values. Those shouldn't be tolerated. So only speech that can be tolerated is speech that agrees with the left. And the left doesn't understand that the LGBT crowd will be the first that the transhumanists of this one government, new world order will eliminate. They will not want any further criticism once they take over with their machines. And we're at the edge of being able to have a world dominated by machines, merging computers into human brains. They think we can go beyond biology for perpetual life extension, become transhuman, post-human. This is insanity. God did not create this world to be a utopia. And every time people try to get it into a utopia, whether it's Hitler or Stalin or Mao, they end up killing millions of the people who followed them and put them in power. And we've got to break this cycle by realizing that these ideas are nihilistic in nature, destructive, and they cannot create the utopia they promise. It should be apparent to everyone the lies that we are being fed on a constant daily basis. It is, again, appalling that we're in this situation. One or two more stories I think I might cover here for a minute. The White House is ordering agencies to prepare mass layoff plans in advance of this September 30th deadline. That's only next Tuesday. The layoff plans to avert a lapse in government funding. Just lay people off, and maybe we can keep the government going a few days longer. Or the White House has instructed federal agencies to prepare to fire a ton of people. Reduction in force that could permanently eliminate jobs in the event of a government shutdown. The latest twist in the latest shutdown Groundhog Day. We see this over and over and over again, effectively challenging Democrats to a game of chicken. Well, President Trump is clever on this, and he's going to play it hard. Core services, including Social Security, Medicare, veterans benefits, military operations, law enforcement, immigration enforcement, air traffic control, will continue regardless of a shutdown. But if we're going to see the massive layoffs, maybe the shutdowns are going to help Trump to reduce the size of the bureaucracy if the layoffs are permanent. Okay, so Hungary's foreign minister is saying that migration, open migration, leads to terrorism. So Hungary's foreign minister made the connection between mass immigration and terrorism while speaking in New York City at the United Nations headquarters. He said, the Hungarian government is not willing to change its immigration policy due to any kind of pressure, as the measures are effective. Keeping illegal immigrants out is the right way. He's correct. Okay, that won't get very much major news attention. And, basically, we're seeing Trump step by step gaining more control. And control means reducing the size of government, which historically is essential. I want to end by saying also that I'm renewing my efforts to get attention to this Copia Port E in Chile that's owned by my friend and colleague, Todd Callender, is one asset of an insurance company Todd owns in the United States. If China gets a hold of this port, which is a deep water port, China will have a solid lock on commerce in South America that's being exported to Asia for the next century. And China already has control of the Panama Canal. We're allowing China to have too much control over shipping in the Southern Hemisphere and not paying attention to it. China's looking forward 100 years. We're looking to the next quarter for profits. Okay, so I think that we need to have a hemispheric security perspective. Trump is right in saying we've got to include Greenland and Canada into some alliance closer to the United States. At the same time, we need to pay more attention to South America because both of the poles will be weaponized in the next 20 years, especially as we go to space wars, which is coming. I know much of this looks dark, but I say in the end, God always wins, and God's going to win here too. Especially if we do our part, as the Bible instructs, 2 Chronicles 7:14, to get on our knees, to repent that we've let the world get to this point of moral confusion and destruction, and to beg God that we do not go to a nuclear war is the solution here. Solution that is annihilation of all that exists and is good in this world. God created life. Only Satan wants to destroy life. If we do follow 2 Chronicles 7:14 in enough numbers, God will hear our prayer and heal our land. It's going to take God's intervention at this point to heal this massive evil that we've allowed to prowl the earth in the name of social justice, another Marxist concept. But God will win. God did not create this place to lose, not for Satan to win. Satan is in hell, and God will send Satan back to hell. But we must do our part. So join me in repentance. Dr. Jerome Corsi. Today is Thursday, September 25th, 2025. CorsiNation.com, doing podcasts every weekday. Thank you for joining us. God bless.